Hello and welcome everyone to Key Course Documents, a model for putting the pieces together. Before we jump into this training, I want to encourage all of you to check out our website, coresonline.org. It has quite a bit of information, including application guidance, copies of the actual application questions, FAQs, a glossary of terms, and my personal favorite, the resource library. Our resource library provides examples of documents that are required for a course application. In addition, there are other useful examples in the resource library of toolkits and documents that are not required for the course application. The documents are there to help you. Many of these examples are from course certified organizations that had excellent applications, but you don't need to replicate these examples to have a great application. They're meant to illustrate a variety of approaches you can take and tools you can use, all of this with the goal of supporting a replicable and scalable system of resident services coordination. This training will specifically focus on the 4 documents that you must upload as part of a fully completed course application. After you watch this training, go to the resource library and filter the search results by topic so that you can look at real examples of each of the 4 documents we'll talk about today. First, the community scan. Second, the resident opportunities and needs assessment. Third, the property services plan. And fourth, the resident indicators and analysis report. You can see here in the drop-down tab that there are lots of topics to filter by. But we're going to focus on these 4 because they're required and because it's what we get the most questions on. I want to mention that all 4 of these documents must be from the same one property. This is to demonstrate your resident services approach and practice and so that we can review the documents holistically. We get a lot of questions about how these documents align with the development of a resident services program. SAFE has actually developed a framework for the System of Resident Services Coordination, which is also on our website. Let's say we're starting the process of developing a resident services program at a property. In general, I like to think of the community scan and the resident opportunities and needs assessment as where you're absorbing or taking in information. Then, the property services plan is a roadmap where you're laying out your plan to best serve residents. And lastly, the resident indicators and analysis report is more of a reflection or an annual checkup to see what impact you're having, what's going well, and what might need to be changed. For the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to use a few generic examples along the way just to give you the sense of the kinds of things we've seen highlighted in these threshold documents from course certified applicants in the past. We'll start with the community scan, which is what it sounds like. You're scanning the area where your property is to see what's already there. We want to see 2 things. First, that you're looking for existing local amenities, services, community assets, potential partners, and other resources in the larger community before you implement your own resident services and programs. This is frequently conducted in the pre-development phase and sometimes a bit later in the development process. The scan might include an analysis of local options for affordable healthy food, like food banks or a congregate meal program. Conducting the community scan should help you discover assets in the area. Perhaps a local branch of the United Way provides free tax assistance every year. This could be included in your community scan. But we'd like to see more than just a community directory. The other important element is that you're analyzing the quality of these local institutions and potential partners. For example, communities often have multiple youth programs, but maybe during your analysis or vetting for quality, you discover that the Boys and Girls Club puts on a summer camp program, and you discover that it also provides free transportation or it shares your organizational values. From your analysis, you know that this youth program is likely a great option for your residents. The community scan might also include census data or data from the Enterprise Opportunity 360 reports. Overall, it should demonstrate that you know what resources and assets already exist and where the gaps are, so that you can best serve residents. This document should be updated at least once every 6 years. The second major required document is the Resident Opportunities and Needs Assessment, starting with, who are your residents? We want to see number 1, that you are collecting and analyzing demographic data about everyone living at this property. How many seniors? How many school-aged kids? How many residents are employed? And so on. Part 2 is that you're getting feedback from your residents. We want to see what you're asking, and 3, how you're asking it, how the feedback is obtained. Perhaps you conducted a resident survey about self-reported personal and community needs or desires for programming at your property. Maybe you held resident meetings to understand tenant perception or perspectives better. Lastly, we want to see what you learned from the demographic analysis and resident feedback. If you learned that your property is home to a lot of school-age children, or that 40% of residents don't have a primary care doctor, we'd like to see that noted here. This evaluation should help you to start considering options to meet resident needs, like providing an after-school tutoring program or partnering with a local health worker that could connect your residents with affordable health providers. The Resident Opportunities and Needs Assessment should be happening at least once every 3 years, and in combination with the community scan should help to inform your property programming. Which brings us to the Property Services Plan. This document should also be updated at least once every 3 years. This should be your roadmap for what gets implemented at a property and how. First and foremost, it should tell us what you have decided to do, what services are going to happen. Maybe you learned from a survey question that 30% of your senior population has taken a fall in the past year, so you decide to offer a fall prevention class. 2, who provides the services? Is it a resident services coordinator, an outside partner? If so, we also want to see that staffing and partnership model. Say you found out by conducting a community scan that there is no grocery store within 2 miles of your property, and you also discovered a couple of potential partners. Then, in your Resident Opportunities and Needs Assessment, you heard feedback that access to affordable healthy food is an issue. So, you decided to develop formalized partnerships with organizations like Meals on Wheels as part of your property services plan. This is the type of solution we're looking for. 4, what cultural, language, or other barriers exist, and how are you addressing these challenges? Perhaps you have a significant immigrant population, or you have some residents that are deaf. In that scenario, maybe you could hire bilingual staff or provide an ASL interpreter at a community event so that you can bridge communication gaps. 5, how are you going to pay for these services? We'd like to see what portion of your budget is property operations, what portion is grants, corporate contributions, etc. This will give us a better picture and help us to understand sustainability and risk. Lastly, what do you hope to achieve with this program plan? The Property Services Plan should tell us what your desired goals are and what measures you're going to use to track them. Maybe you hope to see increased independence in daily living for seniors or improved reading levels for the elementary school children that live at this property. Which brings us to our final threshold document for today, the Resident Indicators and Analysis Report. This document should be updated at least yearly. First and foremost, it should line up with your property services plan and reflect the impact of your programs and services. We'd like to see how the programs and services you chose to implement at the property added value or had an impact on residents. It should demonstrate that you are analyzing your impact. This document should show more than just participation. It is important to track attendance at after-school tutoring, holiday parties, and fall prevention courses, but we're also looking to see if there's also reading level improvement. With that, youth programming, increased sense of social connectedness through the community engagement program, or reduced falls with the prevention course. Most applicants will demonstrate this impact from an annual survey and track outcomes over time. The information gathered should demonstrate what's working and what's not, and it should provide some clarity about what services should continue, or if any should be altered to reach the goals outlined in your property services plan, or to better align with changing community needs. So let's put it all together. The community scan, the Resident Opportunities and Needs Assessment, the Property Services Plan, and the Resident Indicators and Analysis Report. Together, these documents can support a robust system of resident services coordination. You may not need to create new documents to reach these thresholds. For example, you might already have a property survey and a demographic report that can be combined to meet the requirements for the Resident Opportunities and Needs Assessment. If, internally, you have 2 or 3 existing documents that can fulfill a requirement when combined, just include all of those relevant documents in your application. I also want to note that you don't necessarily need to have 4 individual threshold documents organized in the way I just explained. Your organization might have a couple of documents that combine the elements we just discussed. For example, we've seen past applicants that have the elements of a community scan and a resident opportunities and needs assessment included in one document. Another format we sometimes see is the elements of the community scan, the resident opportunities and needs assessment, and the property services plan as a combined resource. Many course applicants can be successful with their own unique layout, but we want to see that these 4 documents as a whole are providing us with the elements I just discussed, and that we can see a full picture of resident services coordination at the property you chose to highlight in your application. We hope this overview has helped to provide some clarity about our key threshold documents, and remember to check out our resource library, which has examples and templates of the 4 threshold documents we just discussed, as well as samples of other types of documents and toolkits that can be helpful. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact us at cors@safenet.org. Thanks so much for joining us today.